Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today's presentation is on the 5-point match. We are going to discuss what the 5-point match is and also talk about an enhancement that is coming out that's related to the 5-point match. My name is Madeline Portillo, and my co-presenter today is Stephanie Robinson. We are in the Data Integrity and Operations team, and we also have members of our Data Excellence team to help address questions. Today's webinar on the 5-point match is an introductory high-level overview of what the 5-point match is. The intention of this webinar is to educate you on the 5-point match and to also advise you on what to expect once it has been deployed. We will be hosting more detailed webinars to dive in deeper to the 5-point match, with the first detailed webinar being hosted this Thursday. And registration for the detailed webinars is open. So if you have not had the chance to do so yet, we highly encourage you to register for one of those sessions. Okay, so here's the agenda for the presentation today. We are going to go over a high-level overview of what the 5-point match is, why is it being implemented, the benefits of the 5-point match, how this affects you, what to expect, available resources, and then at the end we will have time to go over any questions. Okay, so what is the 5-point match? The 5-point match is the matching of program data elements, which includes program zip code, program credential level, program published length, program published length measurement, and program weeks and academic year. Essentially, this is matching programs on more elements than ever before, which results in more precise, accurate matches. Okay, now that we know what the 5-point match is, why is it being implemented? Why is this important? Well, to increase accurate program matches. With our commitment to you to delivering compliance-driven logic and with the ever-increasing scrutiny NSLDS places on program data accuracy, the 5-point match enhancement will be implemented. By increasing the criteria for a correct match, this significantly decreases the chance for a possible incorrect program match. Better identification of distinct programs. The 5-point match will aid in capturing programs correctly for students attending the same institution for an advanced degree in the same program. To maintain consistency with NSLDS guidelines, as your third-party servicer, we want to make sure that we are maintaining consistency with NSLDS guidelines, hence implementing the 5-point match to help further keep your school in compliance with NSLDS. Moving on to the benefits. How does this benefit you? What are the benefits? More accurate program data. Right there, a huge benefit. The accuracy of the program data drastically improves and distinct programs are more accurately captured and identified. For example, let's say you have a student that completes their bachelor's program and then graduates from your institution. And then the student decides to go for their master's program and immediately enrolls in a master's program at your institution with the same zip code that they just earned their bachelor's in. But now that master's has a different program length. This is not identified as a new program. But with the implementation of the 5-point match, this will identify the student as having enrolled in 2 distinct programs at your institution. The 5-point match will allow programs to be matched by 5 fields, which significantly improves the accuracy of program matches. The 5-point match can also help prevent NSLDS enrollment rosters errors, or as some of you may know them as SSCR errors. And SSCR stands for Student Status Confirmation Report. It can also help reduction in students being rejected by NSLDS from the SSCR roster response. And what this means is that more of your data will be accepted and ingested by NSLDS, so more of your data being taken in and loaded by NSLDS into their database. Okay, continuing on with the benefits. It can help protect students from the loss of interest subsidies. It can help improve the NSLDS enrollment reporting statistic calculation, and this is in regards to NSLDS's 90% threshold. And for those institutions that participate in our student tracker service, this can also help ensure more complete data in your student tracker report. Okay, moving on to what to expect. How does this affect you? Remember, the purpose of the 5-point match is to increase the accuracy of your program matches for enrolled students. So at first, you may experience an uptick in program errors on your error resolution report, but similar to the SSCR errors that were introduced last year, as you address these errors, the number of errors should decrease over time, and moving forward, you'll see less and less program errors. The records that may be impacted will be currently existing records. The user roles that may be impacted are those with submission data and submission data alternate roles, and perhaps registrar and financial aid directors if they work on the error reports or if the submission data and submission data alternates are delayed in correcting the errors. Also, you may notice new error codes and updated error descriptions, and these are listed in the Q&A that you were sent earlier. I also wanted to mention that the interface of the secure site, the accessing of the error reports, and the layout will not change, so that will remain the same. Understanding the flow of data. Here we have provided you an illustration of how your data flows. So from your SIS system, your institution uploads the enrollment file, which should already contain complete program level data for the students enrolled in the program, including the 5 identifiers listed here on the bottom left that relate to the 5-point match to the clearinghouse via our secure site. We then run edits on the enrollment file after you submit it to us. And if errors and warnings are detected, these are then posted back to you on the error resolution site for review and correction. Once the errors and warnings have been reviewed and corrected, if correction was needed, your institution then sends the error report back to the clearinghouse so that your enrollment file can be reviewed for final processing. And then, once the clearinghouse receives your file back from the error resolution site, if there is nothing left for your institution to review and address, the file then goes through a final review by one of our analysts and is then processed and loaded into our database. Once the data from the enrollment file is processed and loaded, this then makes the data eligible to go out to NSLDS once we receive the SSCR roster from NSLDS, which is generally received at the beginning of every month. I will now go ahead and pass this over to Stephanie to go over what to expect.
Thank you, Madeline. So what to expect? We expect the 5-point match enhancement to go live this month. The actual date is still to be determined at this time, but there will be an announcement once the enhancement is in place. Any files that are received after the enhancement has been released will benefit from the 5-point match. This means that your next file after the enhancement is released will be subject to the 5-point match, and this is where you may begin seeing the new errors. More in-depth webinars are scheduled to give more information on this enhancement. These webinars will go more into depth into this enhancement, including going over the new errors and how to resolve them. There will be 3 sessions this month which are on the calendar on the Clearinghouse Academy website for you to register for. The webinar is titled Enrollment Reporting, a detailed guide to the 5-point match, and the first webinar will be presented this week on Thursday. Additional resources will be created and made available to assist you with understanding and navigating this enhancement. These resources will be in addition to the Q&A document that is already available and the webinars that were mentioned. So even though this is a very high-level introduction webinar, we will be hosting several detailed webinars for you all that will go more into depth into how this enhancement works, how it impacts your data, and how to understand and resolve the new errors that are associated with the enhancement. So rest assured that we will be providing you with all the training and resources you need to successfully navigate this new enhancement. So what do you need to do for this enhancement? Please continue your current process for submitting enrollment data to the clearinghouse. This enhancement is not adding any additional data elements that you need to report in your files. The 5 data elements that are impacted by the 5-point match enhancement are already requested by the clearinghouse. So as long as your school is including complete program level information on your files, you should not need to adjust your extracts. You may start seeing the new errors mentioned earlier on your files as a result of the 5-point match enhancement. So it is very important that you address these in a timely manner and reach out to the analyst assigned to your file with any questions or for assistance if you are unsure on how to resolve the error. Please take advantage of the training resources that are available on the Clearinghouse website. There are resources available now to assist you with getting familiar with the enhancement before it goes live, and we'll be posting additional resources to assist you with understanding and navigating this enhancement. So speaking of those resources, we do have available resources online now that you'll be able to refer to before the enhancement goes live. For any specific questions regarding the 5-point match, you may send an email to service@studentclearinghouse.org. Please include the 5-point match in the subject line of the email. And we have a Q&A document available on our website, and which I believe Lisa has also sent out to you in the chat, which I would highly encourage you to read through. This Q&A document provides some additional insight into the 5-point match, including information on the new and updated error codes. This is a great resource to help you start familiarizing yourself with the 5-point match enhancement. Now I'd recommend going over that document before the enhancement is released. Also, we have recently released a blog post on the Compliance Central site regarding the 5-point match. So if you've not had the chance to do so, we also encourage you to read that post. There are links through that blog post that will take you to the currently available resources regarding the 5-point match. We also highly recommend that you visit our Clearinghouse Academy page, which is full of great tutorials and on-demand webinars for you. A recording of this webinar, along with the slides, will be posted on that site. You are also able to sign up for the in-depth training webinars for the 5-point match enhancement through that page and watch the recorded version of that webinar once it's been presented. Again, that webinar is titled Enrollment Reporting, a detailed guide to the 5-point match. So to get to the Compliance Central blog, you'll go to our homepage and then under Colleges and Universities, click on the Compliance Central link. And this will take you to the main Compliance Central page where you can access the blog by clicking on the blog option at the top of the page or by scrolling down to the bottom. There will be a list of the latest blogs, and you can see the 5-point match enhancement is at the top. And then on the right-hand side of the page in the green box is where you can sign up to receive notifications of when new blog posts are posted online. Our Clearinghouse Academy site that I mentioned earlier has a lot of really great resources that include a calendar of live events and webinars, including ones related to the 5-point match, and this is the same place you would have gone to sign up for this webinar. We also have tutorials and recorded webinars that are posted on this page and can be accessed at any time. The webinar we are presenting today is posted on the page as an on-demand recording, and you can also access the presentation slides through that recording. And any future webinars or tutorials related to the 5-point match will be posted on the on-demand portion of the site. On the calendar of events, it includes conferences we are attending, so if we are going to be in your area or at a conference you are attending, please feel free to stop by and see us. In addition to the recorded webinars and tutorials, we also have user help and FAQ documents available related to many topics, including the 5-point match. And this can all be found on our website at clearinghouseacademy.org. And you can also access the Clearinghouse Academy site through our homepage by going under Colleges and Universities and clicking on the first link for Clearinghouse Academy. And this is what the Clearinghouse Academy homepage looks like. The options to find information we discussed earlier are on this screen. The live sessions include webinars and other live events you can sign up for. On demand is for recorded webinars and tutorials that can be accessed at any time. And Guides and Help is for you to access FAQs and other documents for assistance with our services. And at this time, we'd like to open it up for any questions you might have.
Well, Stephanie, we have quite a few questions. One question that we have, is it possible some schools are already using the 5-point match? We are a banner school.
As far as the hi, this is Tina. I am the manager with the Data Excellence Group. As far as this 5-point match is concerned, there really shouldn't be a change to what your schools are reporting to us. This is about the clearinghouse doing, being a little bit more diligent about making sure we do not lose a program. One scenario that Madeline mentioned was a student that graduates at the bachelor's level and then immediately returns in the master's level. Those are two different programs. And unfortunately, up until this change, our system didn't see that as two different programs because the zip code did not change. Now our system is going to say, the zip code didn't change, but look, the credential level did change. Therefore, this is a different program, and it must account for that bachelor's level program in order to ingest the master's level program. So it's going to call out that something is different, something is missing. In the event this happens during a term, it's going to throw an error at you. This error code 1568 is the new error. For those of you who've been with us for a while, you may remember at one time we did use that error code 1568 for an unreported program. When a program went missing, that meant a zip code went missing. There was some confusion about where exactly that record should fall, and the 1568 was abandoned and we would present you back with an error that said the program status and the program status effective date are missing. It's the same concept, just not quite at this level of detail. So we've re-implemented that. So this means, again, during a term, if a program goes missing, and that is based on any of these 5 points, so if you're changing the same program, the same credential level, and you're changing from months to years, our system is going to see that as two different programs and must account for the program you had previously reported. Now, if this happens moving from one term to the next, one standard required term to the next, be that fall into spring, spring into fall, for example, our system is again going to do this kind of a comparison and look for the programs that were previously reported for that student and try to account for them in the new term. If it's not finding them in the new term, it will assume a separation at the end of the previous term for the program that's missing. So again, if it's during the term, our system is going to throw an error and you're going to have to account for it. If they go missing from one term to the next term, our system is going to assume the student left that program at the end of the previous term and calculate a separation.
Thanks for the explanation. Our institution will be changing a few zip codes for some current programs. How would this impact the 5-point match?
As Tina explained, if that zip code is not included, it might flag it as an error.
You'll want to work with your representative if you have someone assigned, because it sounds like this is going to be done en masse. You're going to completely change one program code for another. So it needs to be determined, do you want to withdraw the students from the old zip code, meaning the student is no longer enrolled in that particular program, and then start their enrollment in the new zip code, even though we know it's the same, it's still going to compare the two and say the code you had previously reported is no longer being included. We have to account for it by either showing the student as enrolled or separated from that particular zip code.
Now, if that school needed to reach out to a person to figure out who their representative is, where would they do that? Would they email a particular email address? Would it be school?
They would email schooloperations@studentclearinghouse.org.
It is the school operations, but it's school ops at Student Clearinghouse.
The next question, is it possible to create the ability to provide an explanation for a program error? We currently find that program errors are because of older students who are not pursuing a degree but have an active admission status. I currently have to email the clearinghouse representative to pull the file since I am unable to resolve the error because the student is not pursuing a program. Would you read that again?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Is it possible to create the ability to provide an explanation for a program error? And then it says, we currently find that program errors are because of older students who are not pursuing a degree but have an active admission status. Currently, they have to email the clearinghouse to pull the file since they're unable to resolve that error because the student is not pursuing a program.
The student was reporting to the program at one point?
It sounds like they have an active enrollment status. However, the student is not working towards a degree and or program. Therefore, the program indicator on your record for that student should actually equal N to show that there was no program information for the student. Therefore, it should not flag any errors if the student was never reported in a program. If the student was previously reported in a program, it may call out that error, and you may need to close out that previously open record.
Okay, another question. Okay, we already did that one. Is there a complete, which we already did that one meeting. Will you go back and do the what to do section? So we've done that. Is there a complete error listing available? The current link available when correcting errors does not include all the new error codes.
You'll see the explanation and the instructions with the error when the error is presented to you. We do not have a comprehensive list of all of the errors that are thrown in the clearinghouse process. There is an abbreviated list in the clearinghouse programming and testing guide, but you are absolutely correct. It does not necessarily include some of the newer errors that's on our to-do list.
Okay, a follow-up from the person that asked the previous question about is it possible to create the ability to provide an explanation for a program error? They mentioned that they are unable to change the program indicator to N, so I'm just going to highlight that question so that we can follow up with that particular person directly to figure out what is going on. Yes. And then after that, one of the matches is weeks in program academic year. My SIS has that blacked out. If I have not been sending that previously, is this something I will need to adjust?
If you're reporting your program links in years, the Title IV weeks in academic year is not required. That's only required if you are reporting the links in either months or weeks, because NSLDS uses that to convert the program link to years in their system.
Is there a planned update to the errors pages where users will be able to print those errors and corresponding answers? Asking for record-keeping purposes for future questions by auditors. Do we need a...
We currently don't have a list of all the errors. That is something that we are working towards, but you can find descriptions as the error is presented to you on the error resolution site for correction.
We have divisions changing CIP, okay, this is another one similar to the changing CIP program codes, which you've answered earlier. But just for reference, for the question, it says, we have divisions changing CIP codes on the programs. How should we handle these? I'm going to assume it's similar to the other question that we answered earlier. Will math corrections ever be enabled to fix some of these program errors? We currently do SIP changes on programs at the end of the term, but it is going to affect us in any way that we are changing SIP codes on the program.
So that's again a SIP code change. If you are literally changing the number of the SIP code that you're using to define a particular program, Unfortunately, no, there will not be a mass correction available, just because the program information is so detailed and individual to each student. But again, if there's something that we need to work with you because we know there's going to be some massive change, if it happens from one term to the next, we may be able to just handle that. Please don't do that during a term, but you would want to reach out to somebody at the school ops email to reconfirm.
Okay, so I'm going to put the email address in there again in the chat, and that particular person did mention that they do theirs at the end, so that's good. So please reach out to school ops so that, like Tina said, that perhaps discussion can be made to see what can be done. If a change in the 5 points is due to a correction on our end, meaning the school's end, so the student hasn't actually separated from the previously reported program, how should we handle this?
Well, again, it's going to depend on how exactly that's been reported. You may need to reflect that the student was never enrolled in the program as it was previously reported and is enrolled in the corrected program. We would need to look at that on a case-by-case and make sure that everything is being accounted for as it should be.
We have una pregunta en español. So we have two, actually, I think these are both. Somebody had asked for Madeline.
Hey, Madeline.
Hi. So go ahead, Maureen.
¿Cuál es la diferencia entre published length y program published length measurement?
Bueno, es cuánto tiempo lleva para el estudiante terminar el programa y cómo, y si ustedes lo hacen por año, lleva por semana o meses, eso depende.
Is it common for us to graduate a student and thus have all 5 points reported, and then that student becomes non-degree seeking, so the student no longer has program information for us to report? Oh, sorry, it's not a question. It is common for us to have a graduate student and thus have all 5 points reported, and then the student becomes non-degree seeking, so the student no longer has program information for us to report. Will that trigger an error?
This depends if you accounted for that previous error, if it was closed out, graduated, that may depend.
Does the clearinghouse have any future plans to provide downloadable error lists to Excel files?
You mean to be able to export your error list from the error correction on the web? That is also on, well, it's on our wish list.
Yes,
I can tell you that as well. It is definitely on our wish list, and unfortunately it has been deemed kind of almost a luxury. Please don't hate me for that.
Meaning like a nice to have versus a need.
It's a nice to have versus a need to have at this point, because we're trying to make sure that all of your compliance pieces are covered. And since you still have the ability to print those screens, albeit it's awkward, that ability is still there.
But it is on the wish list.
Yes, absolutely, it is on the wish list.
We occasionally change. I think that's similar to the CIP code. So we occasionally change the CIP code for a program. We receive errors on any student in the program we change. What is the best way to notify the clearinghouse so we don't have to correct each student's record manually? So what is the best way to notify us?
You're going to have to work with an analyst in order to do that, and don't do it during a term. If you do it from one term to the next, it can be handled automatically by our system will automatically calculate a separation. If you're doing that within a term, you're going to get an error because that program is missing.
So the best way to let us know is to email schoolops@studentclearinghouse.org. And and we've had a couple of comments that yes, they would also like to vote for that wish list item that Tina
absolutely,
has.
absolutely. So, I have it right here in great big letters to take it back to the development team. Please, can we please move this up?
times like 4 people on that chat list.
We'll just say times everybody, how's that?
Yeah, times 600 people. How will, oh gosh, this is a good question. How will the update be handled with this enhancement if the student is enrolled in the graduate level work prior to completing their undergrad? So they have kind of a stopping question.
Are they, if they're being reported in both, you need to report them in both. If they're enrolled in both a bachelor's and a graduate level, then they should be reported in both. If either one of those two goes missing, our system's going to call it out and ask you to reconfirm, is the student still enrolled in whichever program is missing?
I'm going to highlight that question.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we report weeks program 1, Title IV academic year as blank most of the time. Since the record layout instructions say to leave it blank unless measurement is W or M, will the blank field imply a measurement of Y, or will it throw an error?
Based on what you've populated that program length measurement with. If you populate it with year, it will not look at the weeks in academic term. If you populate in months or weeks, that is when it would throw the error.
Okay. So we got a question about the April webinars. If you all hang on a bit, I will find a bunch of questions to give to Tina and the group, and while they are busy answering them, I will find the links to those webinars and I will send them to you. What will happen to students who graduate with a master's degree on their way to getting a PhD? Question mark. We would graduate them with their MS, but we would not switch their program to the MS because they are technically a continuing PhD student, so their program would not match up. So I guess the students got their master's on their way to the PhD, and they're still enrolled in that program.
So if you have reported the student in the PhD program and you're granting that master's along the way, is the way I'm reading or hearing this. You would continue to report the PhD program, but you can always report the master's program with a graduated status alongside of the student's enrollment in the PhD program. And we've had multiple schools that have attempted to do that. This is just going to be, again, if you report and you're missing something you had previously reported, that's what we're going to call out. We don't know about that student getting that master's along the way to something else that you've told us the student's enrolled in. So you would need to tell us that. I hope that helps.
Got another comment about the math correction. I've got your comment. I've highlighted it, and I'm going to have Tina or Christy contact you offline, just because I think that one is going to be involved about whether or not there's a math correction. Because there's another lengthy question right after that I'm hoping will take lots of time to answer. Are there any issues with August graduates that are not learned about until transcripts come in September or October? When we listed them as not enrolled in the fall, we had issues with the August graduation not overriding their withdrawal reporting that is reported when we send our fall, where they are not enrolled.
So the student graduates at the end of, or the student is enrolled through the end of summer. You have not conferred their graduation before you send fall data. When we get that first data submission for fall, we're going to calculate a last day of attendance equal to the end of the summer term. You should then, once you know about it, report the student as having graduated using the summer term end as the graduation date, because that's technically their last day of attendance. So if you are able to do that, then the G status will just be loaded right on top of the W status. We do at this end have to make sure that we're processing things in order. So I know we had 1 or 2 instances last year where we got the graduated file and the first of term file at the same time. So in the interest of loading chronologically, we loaded the G record and then we loaded the first of term, and unfortunately the W status did go on top of the G status. It's something we're absolutely watching for to make sure it doesn't happen again. But if you report them, the G status after we've already separated the student from the end of the term based on your first reporting for the new term, then the later record will go on top.
Okay, so I just sent the April 12th and the April 18th registration links. I will get the 24th up as soon as I get another chance where I can type that in. Ooh, will the new 5-point match correct problems with double majors and G's not applied issues?
It should, yeah.
Somebody wanted to go back to a previous answer to ask for clarification. They did not understand why it would depend. The original question was students that is degree seeking and supported in the program then becomes non-degree seeking, so the student no longer had the program. They weren't getting the answer, I guess. Could you elaborate a little bit more?
Once a program's been reported for a student, we have to account for that program. If you report the student as having withdrawn or graduated, or we've calculated a separation in a particular program, our system is going to attempt to continue to generate that program forward because the department requires that you report separations more than one time. If they ask for a program and we do not actively respond with information on that program, they're going to code that program as never attended. Even if they've already received an enrolled status, a separated status, a graduated status, if they ask for it and we don't respond with that information, they're going to mark it with an X as never attended. So in order to try and prevent that, we continue to pull programs that you had previously reported into your new record. So you reported Christy as having graduated from her master's program, and now Christy has come back and she's taking some art class. She's not looking for a degree, and you report her with a record that says, no, she is not in a degree-seeking program. Our system is going to pull the program forward that was previously reported so that in the event NSLDS asks for it, we have it. Unfortunately, then the flag does not align, and our system should be automatically flipping that flag to Y because you're not reporting that program, we're pulling it from her previous record. So if that's not what's happening, then we need to have a look at your records and we need to figure out why that's not happening on our side. But that's the purpose behind why sometimes you're like, I didn't report a program. Why does the clearinghouse have a program under this student record? Because I didn't report it. And again, that's us trying to make sure that the reporting goes to NSLDS in the event that they ask for it.
So we have I have 3 more questions left so far. I'm saying so far because I'm pretty sure something else is going to come in. Let's see. So I'm not sure I quite understand this question. Maybe you'll understand it. I don't deal with these files every day like you do. First, sorry if this question was addressed, but for students who change majors during the term, and thus they're changing the CIP code, is there a way to report both the withdrawn status for the old and the active status for the new in the enrollment file? Okay, I see lots of nodding, so that's a good sign. If so, how?
Your software should be able to address that and capture the changes that happen within the term. If your software doesn't, then we're going to throw this error at you, and we're going to ask that you go back to your vendor and say, why doesn't this change get captured? It needs to be captured to keep my school in compliance, and then we can address it from there.
So they're going to do multiple rows per student, or 1 row per student with the new and old code?
One row per student with both the new and old.
This one is another one I also did not. So maybe when I read it out loud, it'll make more sense to me. So with students in multiple levels, they would be staying in at the school level and CIP program level, but showing as graduated or continuing on the credential level? That's the question.
They're changing levels, so they're going from a bachelor's to a master's, is what I'm hearing. Meaning they would be shown in two different programs, completing the bachelor's program and then enrolled in the master's program.
I'm trying to make sure this is the same person that just had clarification.
So at the same time, I think at the campus level, you would be reporting that student in the current enrolled status, and at the program level, you would have one program marked as graduated, the other program marked as currently enrolled with the active enrollment status.
So clarification from, I guess, like 2 questions ago. So that was the one about the, sorry if this question was addressed for students who change majors, and you said the program in one row.
Mm-hmm.
If there are no errors in the data and the multiple programs are submitted for the record, done it, will errors generate? They just want to make sure.
No, not if there's nothing missing and everything is logical.
We will not, if you submit both those programs, we cannot tell we can't identify if the student had graduated or not graduated from that program. So we're going to accept the status that you report.
Okay, we have questions about G not applied and can't get good answer.
That's a whole different webinar.
But they had a request. Could we have someone contact us directly by phone? Yes, you can. That is an easy request. We will happily, well, I will not be able to tell you. I don't work with these files, but one of these lovely ladies in this room will contact you.
Lisa will give us your contact information and we will reach out to you.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, so, but if all our programs have a zip code, credential level, published length, and measurement in years, and zip codes are not changed on a regular basis, would we be effective?
Not really.
No.
Should not.
Okay. Okay, and then final, well, not final question. So, final question I've gotten. Do you know if some of the main systems, Banner, PeopleSoft, et cetera, have clearinghouse reporting errors in their setup that the company needs to fix?
No.
Or are they usually set up changes that are needed at the colleges that cause incorrect clearinghouse reporting? Oh, meaning like if the errors are on the SIS vendor side, or if they're usually at the college level?
Generally what we see is it's at the college level. But if your SIS will not extract more than one program, that's a question for your software vendor, because if a student changes a program midterm and your SIS will only extract the one, we're going to throw an error at you about the other one. What happened to this other program? So if that's the case and your SIS will not extract more than one program to say he left this program, he's now enrolled in that program, that is a question for your SIS, and we'll be happy to work with you and subsequently with them to make that happen, to see what's going on and why it's not working.
If a student is enrolled in a new program for a first submission and then is graduated from the previous term, the student is listed as W in the new term, but the student is in a new program. What should we do? I'm not sure.
The student maintains an enrolled status at the campus level, is my understanding here. And they've left one program, which we've generated a separation for, and they're now enrolled in a new program, which you're reporting. If you need that separation to be reflected as a G status, you have to tell us that, because we don't know whether that, when that program disappears from the student's record, we don't know if they've just changed their mind, if they've graduated. We don't have that crystal ball, so you have to kind of tell us about that.
There's another one from the same person that just asked that, and I'm not sure if these two are related. I apologize, since, like I said,
Lisa doesn't work files. She just keeps all the cats in line with with these webinars and our stuff.
So if a student is enrolled in a new program graduate level, is this similar to what we just did, with the same zip code as their undergraduate level, then we send a G for the undergraduate level. The grad enrollment is then marked as a W.
No. Wait,
No.
they're enrolled in the graduate level?
If they're enrolled at the graduate level and they've graduated from their undergrad, you would report the undergrad as graduated and keep the graduate record as the enrolled status.
Okay. I totally got that.
Follow that.
So, and to try and follow up on the previous question, if we have already calculated that status at the undergrad level, and you've now conferred that degree, you can either continue to report, you can include that program now that it's a graduate status in your enrollment file, or you can process an online update and choose program change, and you can update that program then to a graduate status.
We got a question. Sorry, I'm trying to get this person's name right, because I think we also need to follow up with this particular person. I am new in this role. Welcome, and we will be graduating May 11th. Where should I learn more about potential complications regarding the G? So I've highlighted, I've bolded, I've taken that comment, and I think that we should follow up to let us,
We need to talk.
yeah. There's lots to learn. Welcome, you're in a new and exciting role. Okay, so that seems to be all the questions we have. We have all of the resources online. You can find them actually on the Clearinghouse Academy site, clearinghouseacademy.org, under the On-Demand section. If you look under the On-Demand webinars, one of the most recent ones that were recorded that you should see is this Enrollment Reporting, Introduction to the 5-Point Match. Below that video window directly, you'll see resource links to the blog post, to the Q&A document, and then on the tab that says Attachments, you will see a link to the slides for today. We've also recorded today's webinar, and we are going to upload that as well. The newer version will upload and overwrite the older version that's currently online, but it'll still be the same address, same location, so that way we have, because we've incorporated some of the questions that we got from the last one into this explanation. And then hopefully we will see many of you on Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. And we got another question last minute, and we will follow up with that particular person individually. But thank you all for joining us, and have a great day and a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.